Ever wonder how marketing creates all that pipeline? Think you could do it better? Gong's Russell Banzon asked himself the very same question when he was an SDR. And since then, he's been keeping SDRs across Northern California and beyond well fed. We're going to talk to him about how and why he made the move to marketing and what his role actually looks like. Thank you so much for joining us, Russell. It's great to have you here. So first off, the first question I want to ask is, how did you become an SDR?
So I actually kind of grew up in the hallways of tech. So my mom's been in tech for maybe like 25 years. She's worked at companies like Yahoo, AOL, she's now at Google. And so I kind of wanted to follow in my mom's footsteps. And out of sheer desperation, I was like, I need to get a job in tech. And SDR was the best way to get in, and that's how I got there. I transitioned out of the SDR organization not too long after I joined, actually. So one of my first gigs as an SDR was at a company called Aptus. I was there for a few months, and I found myself really, really excited about the role, really excited about the company, but I didn't feel like SDR was the perfect fit for me. I thought I was very numbers driven, and I'm actually kind of an undercover sales guy at heart. But at the same time, it didn't exercise my more creative side. And so I tried to find something that was a perfect medium. And that's kind of how I started my transition out.
So you're sitting in the SDR role, you're passionate about it, but you realize that there are some things that are missing. What about being an SDR? Like, when did you have the aha moment that said, oh, okay, so this is good-ish, but not great. This is this thing, this demand gen is where I belong.
Yeah, so the way I kind of went about that was I didn't know anything, right? Like I was walking in and I was like, I have no clue what's what the hell is a demand generation that sounds like a machine? What the hell is a sales operations? What are all these functions? And what I did was I would crush out my calls like 8 to 5. I was actually doing really, really well as an SDR. And after 5 o'clock, I would go and talk to as many people across the organization as possible. So some of the folks that I was talking to at the time, sales operations, sales engineering, marketing obviously, which is where I landed. And I would just try to take on projects. I pride myself as kind of like a learning machine. And so I would just try to learn as much as possible in all the free time that I had. And through just exploration and taking on small projects at a time, I found that marketing was a really true passion of mine, and that's how I ended up here.
Yeah, so marketing is very creative and then scientific at the same time. For someone who is just starting to explore what demand gen would be like, or the marketing org as a whole, how would you describe it to them so that they could see if they wanted to start exploring that space?
Yeah, first thing is don't forget, if you are stepping specifically in a demand generation function, you are still carrying a number over your head. Like, I think a lot of times I talk to SDRs who are like, can you give me a little bit of advice and a little bit of insight into demand gen? And a lot of them are like, man, I can't deal with this quota. And I totally feel you, but you are going to leave the SDR function and still have a quota in demand generation. So that's first things first. It's just the quota is a little bit different. The second one, if you're trying to learn a little bit more, think about a day-to-day that's never consistent. And that's a lot of what marketing is like. It's like today we might be filming a video that might be on LinkedIn on Sarah's fantastic new show. And the next day you might be running a direct mail campaign. The next day you might be doing a digital advertising campaign. So it's very, very dynamic in nature. And if you're someone who is okay with constantly shifting focus, juggling a lot of things, and having to exercise a lot of creativity, then it's a great role for you.
So you're having this moment of, okay, we now kind of unpacked what it's like to be in demand gen, and you knew you wanted to go into demand gen once you've done all these different interviews. What advice would you give to SDRs if they're trying to make that leap themselves?
Totally. I would say, one, crush your existing job today. Like, before you start looking outside of your existing space, make sure you're nailing down what you're doing today. That's also oftentimes the hardest piece to kind of swallow as an SDR is like, you have to get your job done that you have today, that you were brought into the business to do. So first of all, definitely do that. The second one is just to get to know different people in the business. I found so much value in going out to coffee with the person who was running demand gen at the time at my first tech company. I found a lot of value in sitting on demos with sales engineers and just listening in to see what that would feel like and really put myself into their shoes to see if, hey, could I have a future in this? Would I enjoy doing this if I were to put myself into their shoes? So I think definitely do that. And the third one is just constantly read and learn more, whether that's via podcasts, if you're an audio person. If it's books, then definitely pick up a marketing textbook, like something from Ogilvy or something like that, to get to know a little bit more around marketing and advertising. Just go out and learn, and you'll start to know more about yourself, I think, along the way, in terms of what do you gravitate towards to and what do you not.
Awesome. Is there any other advice that you would give to an SDR out there trying to move out of SDR land and into something else?
Understand that it takes time. Understand that it takes time to find what you're passionate about, and don't be afraid to make the leap. I think a lot of times folks are really scared to take on that extra project or really go up to somebody and just have a conversation. Don't be afraid to take the leap. Nobody's gonna be offended for you wanting to learn more. Nobody's gonna be offended by you wanting to help out another team. So don't be afraid. Just go ahead and shoot your shot. That's the only way you're gonna make it.
Awesome. That's great advice to end on. Thank you so much, Russell. Now I guess it's time for you to go generate some more pipeline for our inbound team.
Go generate some more demand.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. Thanks, Sarah.
Think you want to move to marketing? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to follow Gong on LinkedIn to catch next week's video. I'm Sarah Brazier, and when in doubt, hit the phones.